So it's great. I am new to Disney, but I'm not new to Beet Retreat. I've been around this group of people trying to move the marketplace forward for the last decade. So I'm happy to be here and continue to push the market forward together.
So there's a lot of discussion about addressable advertising, addressable TV. How has this idea evolved and what are you seeing happening within the space?
So I think that we're at a forced point of inflection. The viewership has changed, right? It's still not at a place that it's linear or streaming. It needs to work together. But if we look at viewership, if I look at Disney's total viewership for certain programs or sports or different events, the viewership obviously used to be more heavily weighted in linear. If you look at it now, it's equal, and in some cases, more eyeballs are occurring and impressions in a streaming environment. So it's funny, for the last 10 years, at the beginning of every single panel, the first question is like, what's addressable? Define addressable, and it really hasn't changed. I just think, and if I go back of, what I've done for the last 10 years, I've worked on the buy side, I've worked on the sell side, I've did it with automation, I did it totally manually. The value proposition is there, and I think that's, people see it, but when we're living in this world of accelerated fragmentation, you need technology to do it. It can't be done manually. And it's not just about set-top box addressable or digital addressable, it's how does it all work together to reach the consumer in a thoughtful way.
And in talking to advertisers, do you ever come across any misconceptions about addressable that you always try to clarify or educate on?
It's still funny that the number one thing that will come up is that it's expensive to do addressable, and actually it's the most efficient thing on the plan if you actually do the math and see that you're reaching the audience as efficiently as possible. So I would say that is one, but I think that there's definitely more of an understanding. It's not a test anymore. Everyone kind of understands the value proposition and is figuring it out.
Now, looking ahead, let's say the next 6 months to a year, is there anything you expect to see or you hope to see in the space with the traditional linear and addressable? Or is there anything you're worried about, anything that keeps you up at night? Like, what do you foresee happening?
So I think it's interesting. I think that we're at the point that we have access to all of this data, and it needs to be used in a different way. So, for the last 50 years, you would build a media plan, start with linear, and then add digital. And I think data's showing us that that might not always be the right way to do it. So we kind of have to retrain the way that we think, and having access to looking at deduplicated reach and figuring out what to add and when. From a Disney perspective, I've like I said, I've done it buy side, sell side. I've never had content. And when you look at properties like Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN, and you have all that content at scale. So I think rethinking newer technologies coming in because it's, you need it. And then automation, I think, is key to kind of moving the marketplace forward. So how can we unlock unique opportunities like programmatic sports, where that's something you would never think you could buy in a programmatic environment. So more automation and new thinking.